We are live now.
Thank you very much indeed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cabinet meeting of Staffordshire County Council today, Wednesday, the 21st of April 2021. This meeting is being held online due to current COVID restrictions. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Mr. Bradbury.
Good morning, Leader. I have one apology, and that's from Mr. Philip White, the Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much. Any other apologies that anybody's aware of? No. Thank you. Agenda item number 2 is declarations of interest in accordance with Standing Order number 16. Are there any declarations of interest? Raise your hand. I see no hands being raised, in which case we move on to agenda item number 3, which is the decision notice of the meeting held on the 31st of March 2021. Everybody satisfied with that? I take silence as consent. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on then to the Leader's Update, agenda item number 4, which is the oral report of the Leader of Council. Colleagues, how fantastic it has been to see shops, hairdressers and pubs reopening their doors and welcoming back customers this month. Staffordshire's COVID rate is now significantly below the England and West Midlands. Vaccination rates in the county and Stoke-on-Trent are amongst the very best in the UK, and we need to thank our colleagues in the NHS for all the support they've given us in delivery of that vaccine. And with some glorious weather over the past couple of weeks, real and tangible optimism for the months ahead. People across Staffordshire have made huge sacrifices in recent months and diligently followed the rules to stop the spread, protect lives and reopen our society and economy. Thank you. And in particular, thank you to the community groups, businesses and individuals who've stepped up to support our communities and our vulnerable people. A huge thank you in particular to our amazing County Council staff for all the work that they have done, working with pride and with purpose to support our people and our businesses. And also to doctors, nurses, police and other professionals for their courage and dedication. But there is still a way to go. The message remains, don't give up now. We need to keep doing the right things to stop the virus or new strains taking hold again. That means hands, face, space, and fresh air. Get your jab as soon as you can. Let's all keep doing our bit to get back to what we love doing most. Finally, colleagues, I want to give a quick plug to our upcoming Staffordshire Day celebrations on Saturday, the 1st of May, when we will celebrate all that is great about our amazing county. Once again, most of the celebrations will be online, with scores of businesses and attractions taking part. Visit enjoystaffordshire.com to find out about the full programme and how you can take part by sharing a short video about what you love about Staffordshire. We saw a great entry this week from the actor Neil Morrissey. Visit the Staffordshire Virtual Market on the 1st of May and explore some incredible local businesses, and look out for the results of our first film competition too. That's at enjoystaffordshire.com. And so, ladies and gentlemen, on to our next item, which is the agenda item 5, the minutes of the meeting of the Property Subcommittee held on the 7th of April 2021. Can I take that as a correct record of that meeting?
Yes, Chairman. Propose we move them.
Thank you, Mr. DeVille. Seconder?
I'll second that, please, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Price. Moving on then to agenda item number 6, the update from the COVID member-led Outbreak Control Board, and Councillor McMahon, we're with you.
Thank you, Leader. We in Staffordshire can enjoy great success in what has happened over the past few weeks. We've seen schools open, we've seen people being able to meet outside, no longer be able to stay at home. And on April the 12th, non-essential retail, libraries, community centres and the like were opened, which is great, and it means that the data is compatible with the dates. And we have assurance that that remains the case currently, so we can see further opening of the economy and society on May the 17th and 21st, provided the data remains strong. And I think we need to remind ourselves what we need to do in order for the data to remain strong. The vaccine deployment has to go to plan. Vaccine efficacy, that's how well it works, has to be robust. Community rates have to be low, so there's no risk of a major surge. And the variants of concern are not considered a material risk. We can proudly say in Staffordshire that we've played our bit. The vaccine rollout has gone very well. We've been promised, despite the geopolitical issues in terms of the vaccine supply, that all those who would get a second dose who needed it. And indeed, we're more than 99% there for the second dose, which I think is something we can be hugely proud of. We continue to do the first doses for those above the age of 50, and we've had a 90% uptake with only a 2% decline at this stage. Nationally, we now have more than 10 million people who've had their second dose, and therefore the most vulnerable in our society are fully vaccinated. What has been happening also locally is that we've made significant steps forward to reach the hard-to-reach groups. That's ethnic minorities, the homeless, those with severe mental illness, and the like. And we're making progress there. The care home staff vaccination programme, which is something that we play a particular role in the County Council, we've seen an 86% uptake, which is more than 7% more than the national average. And I think that's something we can be proud of. We can also take heart in the fact that, that Moderna, a third vaccine, is coming on site, and there are 21 pilots across England using that now, and we can see that happening in the future. So in order for the data to meet the dates as I described, it's hands, space, space, air. Get a test when you can and go online, and it'll tell you all about how to get a test kits through our community sites, and get the vaccine. By doing that, we will truly see a far better summer. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor McMahon. Councillor DeVille.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and thank you also, Leader, and to Mr. McMahon for all the work that you've done over this last dreadful 12 months. You know, the energy and the leadership that you have shown has been tremendous in bringing us to the position that I feel we are now. And you're right, Leader, it's great to see non-essential retail opening again. It's a massive and a necessary part of our local economic recovery. But I think more importantly, it's just something that has put smiles on people's faces again. And after the year that we've just gone through, Leader, where everyone, 99.9% of the people in Staffordshire and across the nation have absolutely done the right thing, have made massive sacrifices. They've absolutely done the right thing. I just urge everyone to continue doing the right thing and to continue looking after each other, because, yeah, smiles are back on our faces. It's great, but there's certainly no room for no room for overconfidence or complacency whatsoever, Leader. And Mr. McMahon's right, Staffordshire's played a massive part in the recovery thus far, both with the testing procedure across the county, the vaccination procedure across the county with our partners, and the management of our recovery. Smiles are on our faces again, Leader, but there's no room for complacency whatsoever. I'm sure you'll agree.
Thank you for that, Councillor DeVille. I think it's a real tribute to the people of Staffordshire how well we've pulled together during the course of the pandemic. It's not over yet, not by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't think we can envisage a point where we get rid of COVID completely. But it has been wonderful to see how, for example, cooperation across districts, boroughs and the county, how well we've worked together, how open the communications channels have been, how free that flow of information has been between local authorities, how well the businesses have stepped up, how well the businesses have endured the pain of this pandemic. And you, Councillor de Ville, are a person who's had to endure a particular amount of pain in your industry as a consequence of the pandemic. But we look forward to brighter times ahead. We can start to see those smiles reappearing. And if we all continue to pull together, I think we can continue to get there. Councillor McMahon, was there anything else you'd like to say by way of conclusion? You're on mute, Councillor McMahon.
Just to say that we will continue to play our part and we will continue to lead the way in Staffordshire to see the other side of this terrible pandemic. Hands, face, space, air, and get a vaccine. Thank you.
And thank you very much indeed, Councillor McMahon. You've been brilliant. Okay, moving on then to the next agenda item, which is the Staffordshire Means Back to Business. This is an oral update by the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, but in his absence, it falls to me to give you the oral update. It is quite an extensive update, so you'll bear with me, but I think you'll find that once you've had the update, you'll be glad to have heard it. Ladies and gentlemen, as part of our ongoing response to the COVID-19 pandemic, I have this month opted to provide a verbal update focusing on Staffordshire Means Back to Business activity, supporting our economy. Our country faces some real challenges, with the Office for National Statistics estimating that the UK's GDP, gross domestic product, was 9.8% down in 2020 compared with 2019. However, there is some room for some cautious optimism, with the Office of Budget Responsibility projecting a swifter and more sustained recovery in the economy at the budget on the 3rd of March than had been estimated during the November 2020 spending review. The Office for Budget Responsibility also predicted that the UK economy is expected to return to pre-COVID levels by the middle of 2022, some 6 months earlier than originally expected. The Office for National Statistics also recently confirmed that gross domestic product grew by 0.4% in February, while the UK was in the midst of the 3rd national lockdown period, an improvement from a 2.2% decline in January. However, the Office for Budget Responsibility does expect that the United Kingdom economy overall will be some 3% smaller in 5 years' time than it would otherwise have been without the pandemic. We're also seeing some great progress with our vaccination programme, as Councillor McMahon has just alluded to. And on the 12th of April, in accordance with Step 2 of the government's roadmap out of lockdown, we've seen the welcome news that a number of businesses and activities have been able to reopen, including non-essential retail premises and personal care premises. And I'd just like to add, I was delighted that my hairdressers reopened because I was starting to look somewhat unkempt. The Step 2 revisions have also been given a much needed boost to our hospitality businesses, who have been able to partially reopen through serving customers outdoors, as well as the reopening of other parts of our visitor economy, such as theme parks, zoos, and self-contained accommodation premises. While we need to remain cautious and continue to follow relevant guidelines for the benefit of everyone, these relaxations do present some opportunities for our businesses to recover, and we hope that it will be followed by the planned Step 3 relaxations on the 17th of May 2021. There continues
You're muted, Leader.
Apologies. There continues to be real resilience in Staffordshire, and our commercial offer remains sound while we will continue to face challenges. There is continuing evidence that we are getting back to business. There have been some significant announcements for our local businesses and wider economy, including JCB has recently landed the biggest order in its 75-year history with a £65 million order for some 2,100 machines. I'm going to repeat that because that's astonishing. Its biggest order in its 75-year history with a £65 million order for some 2,100 machines. The company has appointed 400 shop floor workers, as well as making 350 agency workers permanent across its UK operations. Around 1,000 jobs have been made available at MacArthur Glen Designer Out Village in Cannock, which opened on the 12th of April. The professional services sector continues to be strong in Staffordshire, with companies such as Knights from Newcastle under Lyme purchasing another company, which makes this the 8th addition to its portfolio since 2018. InStem, based in Stone, has travelled further afield for its latest acquisition, taking on an American clinical trials business for £22 million. These positive stories build on the clear sign that Staffordshire is very much back to business, and of course providing further employment opportunities for residents and strengthening our long-term economic recovery. As with all my Cabinet colleagues' portfolios, this has been a busy month, and I would like to highlight to you some of the activity we have been pursuing in the last month. My reports, that's the Deputy Leader's reports in March, set out how we intended to invest in our tourism, leisure and hospitality businesses, and in small businesses who have been turned down by traditional sources of finance. Our Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent Business Loans Fund started operations on the 1st of April and is already attracting inquiries. In support of our visitor economy, we are working with our partners across Staffordshire, including attractions from the private sector and with our local authority partners to ensure that Staffordshire as a destination can really punch its weight and take advantage of the potential staycation opportunities in summer 2021 and beyond. These are clear examples of our strong partnership focus and enhanced two-tier working with our districts and boroughs to develop programmes at pace which support our businesses and citizens. But most importantly, this demonstrates our continued commitment to supporting businesses in Staffordshire. We've also led on a number of other key programmes and initiatives which continue to support the Staffordshire economy and our residents and communities. The Staffordshire Means Back to Business scheme launched on the 1st of April to assist business with a combination of opportunities which will help them to recover from the effects of the pandemic. The programme includes funded apprenticeships, training and skills, startup support and a grant programme to help businesses with a plan to get back to growth, and is jointly funded by county councils and district and borough councils. The combined pot of funding for this programme is more than £5 million, with potential to grow further. The Apprenticeship 500 initiative scheme has already received the interest of 95 businesses wishing to recruit and train 162 apprentices to their workforce, whilst our nil-cost free training offer has generated interest from 305 SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, across Staffordshire. The County Council has formed a partnership with the Borough and District Councils and the Federation of Small Business to provide business support to micro businesses who employ between 1 and 4 people. 53 businesses have taken up one of the 189 places available to date, with East Staffordshire Borough Council attracting most inquiries from businesses and therefore receiving further investment into the scheme from both the county and district councils. Our new business support packages are also starting to gain momentum. 185 people have now signed up to the Staffordshire Startup Scheme, and they've been assigned a mentor and are working through the modules. As part of our drive to make opportunities accessible to as many people as possible, 57% of the course attendees are female and 42% are below the age of 35. Our new pilot startup business loan scheme became operational in November, and loans are being made. To date, a total of 5 startup loans have been approved and have helped launch new businesses. The County Council, on behalf of the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Local Enterprise Partnership, led on setting up the Redundancy and Recruitment Triage Service that went live in April 2020. And this supports businesses and employees facing redundancies. The service will match those recently made redundant with new work in those sectors currently experiencing growth. To date, the triage service has supported over 1,300 individuals. We also established a county-wide redundancy task group that continues to meet with good attendance from the 25 partner organisations. It brings together the County Council, City Council, District and Borough Councils, government departments, chambers of commerce, Federation of Small Business and other national agencies and local partners. The main focus is to support the coordination of the new services to help redeploy, retrain, reskill, upskill and signpost people to new employment opportunities. To date, we have logged 66 businesses making a potential of 7,271 redundancies. Some 48 of these businesses have submitted an HR1, which is an advance notice of redundancy form, to the Insolvency Service, of which 39 have taken up the local offer of support. All of these schemes and programmes demonstrate our real and ongoing commitment to supporting businesses throughout Staffordshire. As a county council, we are continually talking to our partners and understanding the emerging issues in this fast-moving pandemic period where we must be ready to move at pace. Through this working together approach, we can continue to support some of the hardest hit sectors. We do not underestimate these challenges, but we do understand the power of partnership and how it will help us ensure that Staffordshire continues to thrive and is, of course, back to business. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the verbal update that I've delivered on behalf of the Deputy Leader. I hope you can see that there's an extensive portfolio of activity going on here. Any comments? Councillor DeVille.
Are you all right, Chairman?
A frog in my throat.
Great report, a great report, thank you. And what tremendous news about MacArthur Glen, about JCB. Great news that Alton Towers in my district are welcoming guests back safely to their facility. Great news, and great news about all the extra jobs, Chairman, that this economic news that you brought to us today brings to the county. So good jobs mean greater opportunities for all, particularly greater opportunities for young people who really have suffered much during the past 12 months. Good jobs mean enhancements to our physical health and certainly, Chairman, enhancements to our mental health. So it's really good news, and thanks for bringing that report today. And I'm proud, Chairman, and I'm delighted to see the ongoing commitment and support that we as a county council are giving to local business and will continue to give to local business in coming years. Thank you, Chairman, an excellent report.
Thank you, Councillor DeVille, and apologies for the frog that appeared in my throat. Mercifully, Dr. Harling is next door to me and did offer to provide me with resuscitation, but it wasn't necessary in the circumstances. Councillor Sutherland.
Leader, and good morning. I just thought I'd add to the good news that you've extensively given to us this morning. And I've just, this is the latest government universal credit claim count that came out only yesterday. And I'm much encouraged to see that, and I won't particularly, but 4 out of our districts and boroughs have actually seen a small but a decline in the number of claimants. So that backs up this back to business, and that's very encouraging, because we seem to be recovering slightly quicker than our near neighbours, and that's not to dwell on our success, but to actually amplify that we are back in business. So thank you for a very, very comprehensive report this morning.
Councillor Price.
Thank you, Leader, and yeah, an absolutely excellent report and very comprehensive. I speak to a lot of the local businesses within the Stafford Borough as well, and the support they felt that they've had from the county and both the local borough, and that goes for all boroughs and districts across Staffordshire, has been fantastic. It's been an extremely difficult time, and we recognise that businesses are absolutely key to the survival of our local economy, and I've been very humbled by the support that both national government has given to us and that we have given out to our local businesses has been fantastic. I just wanted to thank the Deputy Leader as well for that very comprehensive report. It was excellent. And just to point out as well that locally we've got a Pets for Home moving into Stafford and intends to open in 2022. It will bring some jobs and create additional jobs as well on a new 52-acre site near Junction Green. So yet again, more good news and showing that we will bounce back from this very difficult situation. And local business can rest assured that they have full support of County Council, and we will help wherever we can. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Price. Just by way of something, I'd just like to thank our officers at the County Council and across the Staffordshire and our fellow district and borough council at the City Council for all the effort they're putting in. But I'd also like to pay tribute to our business owners and many people who are employed and actually through the difficulty of finding those without a job. The endurance and fortitude our residents have demonstrated over the past 12 months is something to be very, very proud of. We need to stick with it. We need to continue to work hard, and together we can move ourselves forward and get this very, very difficult phase for all of us. There is very strong evidence that things are getting better. There is plenty of support out there, and I would encourage those people who are looking for help to get in touch with us at the County Council or your local district and borough council, and let's work together to continue to drive the economy forward. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this item on the agenda. I now move on to agenda item number 8, which is integration, innovation, working together to improve health and social care for all. From the Cabinet Member Healthcare and Wellbeing, Councillor Arm, we are with you.
Thank you, Leader. On the 11th of May 2021, there was a white paper published by government entitled Integration, Innovation, Working Together to Improve Health and Social Care for All. And the intention is that this white paper will become law sometime in the summer. It implications clearly for the NHS, but also for us as a local authority. It does several things. First, it will unwind the internal market, and it will be a more collaborative approach to commissioning. It will involve a closer relationship between health and local authorities, and adult social care will go through an assurance process through data collection and CQC inspections. The intention is basically to build on the collaboration between health and social care that we've seen through the pandemic. So the question is, how will this take effect? Well, as you know, we have 6 CCGs, clinical commission groups, that are autonomous strategic and statutory bodies that commission care in our community. Those 6 will become one integrated care trust NHS body, but it won't just be the commissioners. There'll be commissioners, the providers, local authority representation and primary care all sitting around the table. That body will have a financial allocation by NHS England, with which agree to develop a plan to meet the health needs of the population and a capital plan for NHS providers and secure the provision of health services to meet the needs of the population. So collaborative commissioning starts with that board because the providers, primary care and local authorities are all sitting around the table. But it's more than that. The trusts and the 5 directors of all the different agencies within the NHS have been asked to not only be mindful of their own budget, but also to consider the system as a whole, insurance contract. And both that cultural change and that to an ICS body with everybody around the table, I think does give us a more collaborative approach than we've seen in the recent past. In order to make the collaboration deeper, there is still going to be an ICS, Integrated Care System, Health and Care Partnership. And that will include, again, NHS bodies, local authority, and the volunteer and other parts within the community. And their role to promote partnership arrangements within the community and develop a plan to address healthcare, social care, and public health needs of the population. It goes on to say that each NHS body and local authority would have to give regard to this plan. The ICS Health and Care Partnership would not be able to impose arrangements on any organisation. A couple of months ago, to Prem Singh, who's chair of the ICE as it stands at the moment, in order to gain assurance that our autonomy would remain secure, and we have had that assurance from him in writing. I'm glad to be able to tell you. There's also where the Health and Wellbeing Board sit in in the local authorities, and the two health and wellbeing boards would remain in place. Responsibility is to produce a joint strategic needs assessment and a health and wellbeing strategy, which they're both authorities are familiar with, and that the NHS, the ICH NHS bodies and local authorities would need to give that regard, but those recommendations would not be imposed on them. So that's effectively the structure as to how it works. Underneath the ICS, there would also be integrated care partnerships, which splits the county into 3, north, south, east and southwest. And below that, there's the primary care networks, of which there are 23. And they have really come of age of late, because they are the main vehicle by which the vaccine has been distributed. And it's been a shot in the arm, if you pardon the pun, in terms of their confidence and in terms of their governance arrangements and ability to move forward. And I think that's been a great byproduct to a terrible situation for us. So in short, we will have one strategic body for the whole of the county, namely the ICS. But because our community assets and our statutory provision is different throughout the county, tactical approach to this through the ICP and the primary care networks will still remain in place. And I think that's a reasonable way forward. In terms of the assurance process for adult social care will be around data collection and CQC inspections. But it's also been requested of the CQC that they take a more facilitative, essential approach than has been in the case in the past. And I think we as authority should take every opportunity to influence that development. That remains valid and proportionate and not handed. There are other pieces in this white paper. The one of note is the Better Care Fund, which the arrangements for which we changed a little. That's important to us because it contributes 23 million to the adult social care budget. But it does say it will be technical change only. So in short, we'll see the loss of the internal market, more collaborative approach. We'll see closer working relationships within the NHS and between the NHS and the local authorities. The one strategy and a more tactical approach locally, and the PCNs have come of age, and I think that's really helpful. The things we need to keep an eye on is the possible NHS overreach, from which we've had assurance already. The assurance framework is balanced and proportionate, and the technical changes in the BCF are indeed only that. So in closing, Leader, I recommend that Cabinet note the legislative proposals set out in the white paper and the attendant opportunities and risks. Begin preparing to implement the proposals in anticipation that they will become law. Seek opportunities to influence the development of the enhanced assurance framework. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor McMahon, for a comprehensive report. I have a question for you. It leaves the role, I don't want you to sort of drift into the realms of speculation, although it'd be difficult not to, I guess. It does leave the role of health and wellbeing boards with a slight question mark around them, I guess, and carving out a new role for health and wellbeing boards in the realms of integrated care systems and integrated care partnerships is going to be an interesting challenge. Have you reflected on that at all?
Yes, I have. The first thing to say is that the Health and Wellbeing Board will still exist. That's clear in the white paper, and their current roles, for instance, the Joint Strategic Needs Assessment and the like, will still be part of their work. How the Health and Wellbeing Boards have quite a lot of latitude because their statutory requirements are quite limited currently, and I think that they have an opportunity to reconsider their approach once we see the detail of the white paper. And I wouldn't want to because anything more than that, I think would be speculation. We need to see the detail first. But they're there and they have a role, that's clear.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Does any other colleague have a question for Councillor McMahon on this agenda item? Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Dr. Johnny McMahon. Very full, very comprehensive. You know that there has been some concern locally with the announcement that was leaked a little earlier in terms of CCGs going from 6 to 1. But what you've helped me to understand, and hopefully others as well, is that there will be closer local representation, particularly with GP practice, because we do need tactical solutions, particularly at a local. And I will only talk, forgive me, for Rugeley. It's in our interest, for our residents in Rugeley, to have as many services as possible supplied in Rugeley, in and around Rugeley. I understand, and it is accepted, for specialist needs, you need to go to specialist places, hospitals, etc. Thank you for this report. It's very comprehensive, and I know it'll be onto for public scrutiny now. But, it's an excellent report. Thank you for the reassurance you've given us this morning.
Councillor McMahon, any comments on that?
Well, only to say, I think that the one strategy, but tactically locally, I think is really important, and one of the strengths of this approach, because somebody who's in need has multiple long-term conditions and maybe financially challenged. Their issues are the same no matter where in the county they might be, but the community assets and the NHS bodies will be different in each area. So we have one country with a multiplicity of tactical approaches, and I think that's the right approach, and it gives local feel what we do.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the recommendations. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 And any against? Any abstentions? Thank you, Councillor McMahon. The recommendations are approved. Moving on to agenda item number 9, the one undoubtedly you've all been waiting for, which is the frame agreement for the repair and treatment of flat roofs and associated works. Councillor Deville, I think we're with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, colleagues, for waiting for this report. The framework agreement for the repair, treatment of flat roofs. And it doesn't, I understand, Leader, it doesn't just quite exactly run off. But it's extremely important. It's an extremely important report because the report emphasises the importance that we place on the consideration of placing contracts, agreements, and more importantly, signifies how vital it is that we achieve best value for money for our Staffordshire payers. Just a small indication on value, Chairman. We currently have approximately £7.2 million worth of roof assets split across the county into academies, schools, corporate buildings, council offices. So we're talking about a considerable amount of money. The current agreement expires on the 30th of November of this year. Importantly, the new agreement will provide a clear and agreed schedule for the repair and renewal of council-owned buildings throughout the county. There are no equivalent agreements procured by any central purchasing body, as remember we do with some other contracts such as utilities. It's envisaged, therefore, 2 providers will be appointed for this service. So we have a real opportunity here. We have an opportunity to encourage local businesses to tender for this repair business, and that's excellent news for our local Staffordshire economy. And it's also excellent news, Chairman, in achieving very, very best value for money to our Staffordshire taxpayers. I'll just pause for any questions or any points before reading the recommendations, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor DeVille. Whilst I smile at the titles of the subject matter you bring before Cabinet, is when you describe the scale of the financial contribution that this is part of our overall financial package, you just start to realise how important it actually is. Councillor Sutton.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Mr. DeVille, for that report. And while many people think this is quite a mundane type subject, I think it shows actually how important it is to our staff and our communities that we manage these things really well. But having volunteered regularly at a local library in Brood, we've recently had severe flat roof issues that have impacted on the way the library can be open and run, impacted on volunteers, and then impacted on the general public. So it does show how, with what can be quite mundane things, is quite important and quite important on both the way the council works and on our public. Thank you very much.
Councillor Sutherland.
Really to back what's just been said, Councillor Sutton. Thank you, first of all, Councillor Dill, for a good report, and it's what I call the good basic management of running a business. The level of detail in terms of what is needed to ensure that you get value for money is within the report, clearly defined. And I think that it shows very significantly how we do. For every pound that we spend, we're looking and constantly reviewing. And you put it, best value for every pound we invest. So I smile when I read the report. It's not the sexy subject, but it's critical when you're spending money. So thank you.
Can I ask my question, Chairman?
Just bear with me 1 second. Just check that other people are on mute. Yes, Councillor Jessel.
Thank you very much, Councillor DeVille, for this report. Flat roofs are a real nightmare if they fail, and the proper repair of them is vitally important. No flat roof, however good a condition it's in, are going to last forever. It's well known that they do have a limited time span, and this is perhaps not a question directly to you, but to back up and raise awareness with others in terms of sometimes repairing a flat roof for like is not necessarily the best long-term solution. Some flat roofs actually can be converted into a pitch roof, which will have a significantly longer time span in terms of their operational functioning. So can I ask through you whether it's possible that when a flat roof is repaired, that actually a potentially longer term better solution is looked at, and that can sometimes be converting them into a pitched roof. And also, of course, in terms of climate change, it may well be that it's an opportune time to install photovoltaic cells. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jessel. Councillor DeVille, you've got a few questions there, so if you could pick those up.
Indeed, Chairman. Yeah. First of all, Chairman, thank you, Mr. Sutherland and Mr. Sutton, who I think emphasised the importance of us constantly, no matter what we're buying, Chairman, whether it's the purchase of electricity for the whole of the our county council economy or buying paper clips. It's absolutely essential that we constantly look at best value for money for all our Staffordshire taxpayers. So thank you to Mr. Sutherland and Mr. Sutton for those comments. Thank you, Mrs. Jessel. I think you're quite right, and I can assure you that whilst we're looking at the repair of the £7.2 million worth of asset that we've got now and the maintenance of those, the property team will be looking at maybe other ways of repair and other ways, maybe more economical ways to overcome this problem of flat roofs, which is a problem everywhere that you see them. So I think your point is very well made, and I assure colleagues and I assure the people of Staffordshire that we'll continue getting best value for money, and we will, Councillor Jessel, look at other ways of repairing flat roofs into the future. Our property department will be certainly looking at that, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeVille. I can't remember if you read the recommendations out or not. Could you read the recommendations, please?
I'll read them, Chairman. Yes, thank you. I recommend today that Cabinet A agree that Staffordshire County Council concludes its regulated procurement in line with the Public Contract Regulations 2015 for the framework agreement for the repair and treatment of flat roofs and associated works. B, that we agree, following the procurement process, the successful suppliers be appointed to the framework agreement for the period of the 1st of December 2021 to the 30th of November 2024, and that dependent on the quality of their delivery of work, a 12-month service extension be implemented to a final contract end date of the 30th of November 2025. And C, Chairman, that we agree that the Director of Corporate Services be given delegated authority to A, approve the initial awards of the success providers to the framework agreement and approve entry into the framework agreement with successful providers. B, to approve all subsequent awards of call-off contracts under this framework agreement and approve entering into call-off contracts. C, if applicable, to approve the one-year extension framework agreement in its 4th year. I move those considerations and recommendations this morning, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. You've heard the recommendations. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Any abstentions? The recommendation is approved. Thank you very much. Moving on then to agenda item number 10, Inter-Performance Report 2020-21 for quarter 4. Before I have it to Councillor Sutherland to deliver the introduction to this report, I'd just like to emphasise how much time Cabinet spends actually going through the performance of this authority in detail on a regular basis. This report is the culmination of a great deal of work that goes on behind the scenes, a great deal of accountability that is held by all of us to each other for the performance of the local authority that is Staffordshire County Council. So whilst this is, as I say, the culmination point, there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Councillor Sutherland, if you'd like to take us through, please.
Thank you, Leader, and good morning. This integrated recovery report or performance report provides an overview of Staffordshire Council's progress, performance and financial position in dealing against our strategic plan and delivery plan. And this covers the period January to March 2021. At the end of quarter 4, the overall assessment of the Council's performance and financial position is amber. There continues to be areas of risk in adult social care and families and communities. Further details are included within this report and its appendices. The latest forecast outturn shows a forecast saving of 1.77 million. My verbal introduction today for this Q4 report will cover only a brief snapshot of the numerous activities and performance achievements across the whole Council's directorates. And my colleagues here today, I suspect, may want to highlight specific items I may not mention within this morning's introduction. Starting within health and care, significant work has continued across this sector with the Council leading the response for COVID-19 and the exit lockdown plans, as well as the recovery of key adult social care services. Staffordshire has now been approved as part of the Community Collect Home testing scheme, which means residents can collect home testing kits from its community testing centres as well as national sites. The Council's COVID-19 local outbreak management plan has been updated to reflect latest developments, test and isolate, outbreak management, vaccination and the roadmap out of lockdown. Work has been underway in adult safeguarding service to reduce safeguarding waiting lists. In response to this priority work, numbers have fallen to 332 as of the beginning of March from 627 in November. Within families and communities, work progress recovery plans, transformation and wider service delivery continue to take place across the families and communities area. Over the last quarter, the social workers in schools comprehensive virtual offer has continued to support children and families within schools with the aim of reducing the number of referrals for specialist help, and funding has been extended to March 2022. Over the last quarter, the social workers in schools, I've just repeated myself. Moving on, the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government have confirmed ongoing support for Troubled Families programme for 2021 and 2022. And Staffordshire have been allocated 1.8 million for the building of resistant families and communities. The Council and Staffordshire clinical commissioning groups are working with others to improve the way children with special education needs and disabilities are supported. Recently, they approved and published Staffordshire 5-year special education needs and disability strategy following extensive engagement with parents as well as professionals. The Stage 2 bid for the Staffordshire History Centre project was submitted on the 1st of March with the outcome expected this June. The bid is for 3.9 million for from the National Lottery Heritage Fund towards the 7 million project to create the Staffordshire History Centre. Staffordshire's community managed libraries have a 5-year contract and lease agreements with the council, which can be renewed for up to 5 years. On the 19th of February 2020, Cabinet agreed to a further support package for the community managed library model, and this will enable the sustainability of community managed libraries and support their work within our communities. Much has already been said within the economic and infrastructure and skills, but this council, as we know, continues to support local businesses to survive, adapt and continue to operate as part of delivering its 5-year economic recovery, renewal and transformation strategy. The latest support programme delivered by the council as part of its strategy is a £2 million loan to back small businesses through pandemic recovery, launching in April. The 3-year Staffordshire and Stoke Business Loan Fund will provide loans from £10,000 to £50,000 to companies across a range of sectors. The countrywide redundancy task group in partnership with Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire LEP delivered a successful virtual jobs fair in January. The countrywide redundancy task group has also supported 1,400 individuals, with 26% of that number moving into a positive outcome so far. The Kickstart scheme to support young people's employment prospects is now up and running with 539 placements across the whole area. On the new job fronts, we've already heard, but and forgive me if I do repeat, there's been several major job creation announcements in recent months, including the fashion retailer ASOS committing to a new £90 million fulfilment centre at Fradley near Lichfield, which is set to create 2,000 jobs and is due to open early next year. Pets at Home are delivering a new national headquarters at Redhill near Stafford. This is due to open in early 2022, forecast to employ some 800 people. We heard earlier from the leader that JCB have announced that we will be looking to take on around 400 additional staff to cope with the anticipated surge in production. In March this year, Cabinet approved was granted for £69 million for investment plans targeting road safety, sustainability transport schemes, including the upgrade of busy junctions, updating traffic signals and improving footways and cycle paths. Moving into corporate services, they continue to provide vital service support to the organisation in delivering its priorities, and these are set out very clearly in paragraphs 52 to 56 in the report. Progress has been made this quarter to drive forward the Council's 4 principles which continue to underpin our priority work. Just to remind ourselves, these 4 principles are communities, digital, climate change and workforce. And again, key summaries for each of these are covered in the report, paragraphs 58 to 78. So moving on to the revenue forecasts, and I refer in detail to appendix number 2. Since 2020-21, the budget was set. COVID-19, as we all are well aware, become a global pandemic, requiring a combined response from public sector services, of which had a severe impact on the economy. Central government has issued 4 payments of general grant to local authorities, totaling 47.6 million, in order to support the additional pressures of continuing to provide vital services during the pandemic whilst protecting both workforce and local residents. Within Appendix 2, paragraph 3 sets out the current forecast of additional costs relating to the pandemic for Staffordshire County Council, and it shows loss of income and delayed services savings caused by the crisis. This can mostly be funded by the government grant provided. However, it's not enough, and a gap of some £500,000 is likely to remain. All grants received by Staffordshire County Council regarding COVID-19 in 2020-21 are listed within this paragraph, and the general COVID grant can go against all spend with remaining grants that are specific and go direct, or ring-fenced and go direct to services. I would also draw your attention to paragraph 40 to 49, which sets out the educational forecast overspend of 2.6 million in total, with further details on SEND high needs block overspend in paragraph 46. All of note, and covered in paragraphs 80 to 82, shows central control costs overspend of 1.9 million, and the explanation behind the spend covers insurance premiums, property charges, loss of rental income and additional cleaning costs. Moving on to the capital forecast outturn is 143.6 million. That's a slight increase from quarter 3, and that's mainly due to slippage due to the COVID impact. Whilst there's been a slight reduction in debt since quarter 3, paragraph 109 sets out a table of levels and the progress that's currently been made. Moving on to Appendix 4, this sets out for each directorate the final outturn forecast and includes COVID impact broken down by each directorate. Appendix 5 sets out the capital programme outturn forecast. And Leader, if I may, before I pass to my colleagues for comments, I would like to record my thanks for the department teams who have provided comprehensive comprehensive report, and for each directorate for their focus on delivering what has been a very, very difficult MTFS year. And the recommendations from both the leader of council and myself as cabinet member for finance is that we recommend cabinet notes and challenges performance and advises of further information and action required. Thank you, leader. If I can pass back to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Sutherland, and as always, a comprehensive run through the performance of the council. Do any colleagues have any comments following that? Councillor Price.
Thank you, Leader. I'll always take the opportunity to talk about SEND. I thank Councillor Sutherland talking about paragraph 28 on page 24, where he talks about the SEND strategy that we okayed through the previous CAB meeting. Just to say now that we have the strategy in place, we will be working on the implementation of that particular strategy, and that will be going through the SEND and Inclusion Partnership Board, where I'm very pleased to say that work begun on how we're going to actually do that. So some very, very good news. Councillor Sutherland also talked about the high needs block overspend, which is Appendix 2 on page 42 and 43. And that basically outlines the forecast out for 2021 high needs block of being approximately 6.5 million overspent. This is about £1 million higher than the position last reported, mainly from independent and special settings. School provision and reflects the additional costs impacting on the high needs block as a result of the education and healthcare plan backlog, which has now been addressed, and I'm very pleased to say that has been dealt with, and that we are on time with our 20 weeks for our educational healthcare plans, which is a significant improvement for this authority, and I'm really pleased to see that and how that we've taken that. The overspend is largely a result of an overspend of about 2.1 million in mainstream as a result of increased demand. Rough overspend of 3.1 million in our special schools as a result again of demand and a rise in proportion of children with higher needs and therefore costs. And an overspend of approximately 2.9 million in independents as a result of the increased demand. Staffordshire, along with other councils across the sector, has been lobbying for additional resource, and it's only positive sign that government has recognised this and in the last 2 years provided significant additional investment in this area. Whilst this is appreciated, of course, it will not fully close the gap completely, and we will continue as an authority to lobby for any additional resource that's required. Going forward, it's forecast a transformation programme with the imminent full rollout of our new district hub model will provide for a more inclusive system. This enables necessarily support and intervention to manage demand within the overall sector, and of course this will all help us manage costs. So some very, very positive news, a lot more work to do, and I thank Councillor Sutherland for a very comprehensive report. Thank you.
Councillor Sutton.
Yes, just wanted to highlight some of the areas, and Councillor Sutherland did mention a couple that fall in the families and communities area, and particularly those that are within my portfolio around children's services. And that's firstly just to reiterate that work to progress the recovery plans, transformation and wider service delivery continue to take place. The implementation of emotional wellbeing in schools programme is enabling schools to provide effective wellbeing support to children and young people who are dealing with the emotional impact of COVID-19. The next phase of that programme will focus on early years and teachers' wellbeing in response to feedback from the schools who access the first sessions. The number of children in our care in Staffordshire has continued to decrease slightly and is well in line with what we forecast we needed to achieve within the revised business case from previously. Over the last quarter, the social workers in schools comprehensive social offer has continued to support children and families in schools within aim there to reduce the number of referrals for specialist help, and funding for that been extended to March 2022. The Ministry Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government have confirmed on support for the Troubled Families Programme, which going forward will be named as a supporting families programme. For 2021-22, Staffordshire has been allocated 1.8 million for this programme and will retain earned autonomy status. So we get money up front as opposed to having payment by results. In the current year, Staffordshire's programme has achieved successful outcomes for 1,203 families, which has exceeded our annual target of 784. And finally, the family hubs have continued to play a crucial role in during the pandemic. They're currently administering the DEFRA Emergency Fund Food Programme, which has meant over 25,000 children have access to a £50 voucher per week during the Easter holidays that have just to an end. In addition, the council has received 2.2 million from the Department of Education to work on and deliver a holiday activity and food programme during Easter, the coming summer and Christmas, which will support children and their families to stay safe and happy and healthy. Thank you very much, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor DeVille.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sutherland. A really positive report on our performance at the end of those difficult of years. Some great achievements, Chairman. And these achievements don't just happen, do they? These achievements are the result of good planning over a period of time, the result of good prioritisation in the right areas, and they are a result of us rolling our sleeves up, working hard with our partners and getting on with the job. And three real highlights that I see, Chairman, and I'm delighted that we'll be carrying these highlights forward into our future strategy, are that we've been working very, very closely with district partners and other partners, including businesses, on the ongoing economic recovery. That's essential. The second highlight that I really see as a massive achievement and moving forward is that we continue to look after people who need help the most. We'll continue doing that. And thirdly, Chairman, that we continue to help people and community to do their bit. I think the one positive that's come out of the past 12 months, the pandemic, has been that great British spirit and that great Staffordshire spirit. And that's something that, you know, I look forward to working with our local communities and our partners to nurture that, Chairman, and to continue that. I think that is the real one real positive to come out of the last dreadful 12 months. So thank you, Mr. Sutherland. A very, very positive report and many great success stories there. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Councillor Jessel.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to ask one question and also highlight a couple of paragraphs within this very comprehensive report, and just goes to demonstrate the breadth of activities that the local authority undertakes. It's not only tackling issues of here and now, but also the issues and planning for the future. The one question I want to ask is on paragraph 22 under families and communities. As we all know, the business case was remodelled and reforecast for decreasing the number of children in care. The paragraph does relate to the decrease is in line with that revised business case forecast. Can I just ask, are we confident that that revised profiling is going to be delivered? It is so essential that, you know, all efforts are made now. We appreciate the fact the last 12 months has actually made life extremely difficult, not at least the children's courts. But I would like to seek some reassurance that actually we're on target and we're going to stay on target. There are just a couple of items I'd like to highlight. One is under digital, and it's only a very small paragraph, but for the future of this county is so essential, and that's paragraph 67. And that's establishing a digital infrastructure strategic framework. As a county, we are very keen to do everything we can to facilitate investment in our gigabit technology, so essential, not only to our private lives, but our economic lives. And I think it's important that we don't take our eye off that ball and ensure that we're at the leading edge of making that technology available. The one final item I'd like to raise is under climate change and paragraph 73. And this is the success of this authority in being awarded over £3 million to decarbonise 22 school buildings. In 2018-19, our baseline carbon emissions for this authority was over 50,000 tonnes. Of that, 6,190 tonnes of CO2 from gas used in schools and 663 tonnes of CO2 were emitted for using oil in schools. That's over 10% of our CO2 emissions as an organisation as a whole. So actually reducing those carbon emissions in our schools is vitally important in us achieving our target of zero emissions in 2050 or net zero emissions. So this is really good news, enables us to accelerate the programme, and the paragraph identifies that it's reducing or replacing oil boilers with heat pumps, improving insulation, and whilst you know some boilers will be replaced with gas boilers, of course they'll be far more efficient. So I really welcome this, and it's another further step to achieving our target. We are, as an authority, I believe, pursuing what I call the pragmatic and practical approach to reducing our CO2 emissions. There are other organisations, political organisations, such as the Green Party, who I'm afraid some of their policies would lead to huge job losses and a significant negative impact on our economy. This is the way forward. This takes the public with us, and we're not going to achieve our target of this net zero emissions by 2050 without every single one of us in communities across the county, across the country, actually buying into this. And this is the way forward. Thank you.
Well said, Councillor Jessel. Thank you very much indeed for those comments. Councillor Sutton, can I just bring you in to address the questions raised by Councillor Jessel about the profile of the Children's Services, please?
Okay, so the figures that are in the actual report are obviously at the end of the financial year. There has been continued over, in fact, the most of this year to be a general reduction in the number of children in our care. The figure as of the end of last week was 1229, which is considerably below what was set out in the business case previously. So the profile is continuing to go in completely the right direction, being achieved by us working with families initially as opposed to the default being children coming into care. So we can work hard with families restoratively, to use that terminology, to ensure that children and families are supported, so the actual need to go into care does not exist. What's also very relevant to this is that the number of children that are in high-end residential care, where there is that larger cost, has continued to reduce. It's been stable over the last month or so, but it's considerably less than what it used to be, and considerable work goes on by officers on a weekly and daily basis, not only to ensure that children are in the right place in our care or in the right placement, but those cases are reviewed, particularly where they are high-end, high-cost, to ensure that they are in the appropriate place, but the cost is taken into account as well. And increasing in staff in that area has allowed us to do that in a more proactive manner. And there is no reason why these trends should not continue.
Councillor McMahon.
Thank you, Leader. Adult social care, it's been a particularly good quarter, as has been outlined. Our support of the NHS vaccination programme, our asymptomatic testing programme, and our tracing programme has been well recognised nationally. We've also made significant roads into the safeguarding waiting list, and in early March it was half what it was in November, and continuing to fall. Supportive communities has been a great programme that's worked well, and we're extending that from the elderly to all who are vulnerable in our community. And in public health, Do It to Feel Good has likewise worked well. And we have had a saving as outlined in the report. However, we're not complacent about the future. The pandemic may well have created some paradigm shifts in adult social care provision. And we are minded that the resident is the customer, and we have to listen to what they have to tell us in terms of what they want for their care, particularly in terms of care home and home care provision. And we are fit and ready to do that in the forthcoming months. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, and thank you very much for this comprehensive report. Really, not much more to say, just to say that we've really been through it this last sort of 13 months, haven't we? But this report goes some way to showing how hard we've worked, the challenges that we've experienced in this county, and how we found ways to make every penny of our Staffordshire pound, make sure it's spent helping those who need it most. The work we've done with libraries, which obviously is in my portfolio, and the community groups, for me, that's the most positive thing. That's what we've been able to do to help our communities through this difficult time, and the thousands of pounds that we've been able to source and fund via district and borough councils. I really welcome this report, and I'd just like to thank Councillor Sutherland and all the officers for it. I feel that our county is really in safe hands with this council. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Sutherland, after a comprehensive introduction and having heard from Cabinet members, is there anything you'd like to do just by way of summing up and give us the recommendation, please?
If I may, first of all, I'd like to correct something that I said. I thanked many people for this report, but I forgot my colleagues. And so I'm going to take this opportunity now. And I think it's indicative that every Cabinet colleague has commented full and wholesome knowledge of their portfolios, and I feel comforted in the role that I undertake, having these people around me. So thank you, team. Still more to do, as you quite rightly highlight. And for me, it's onwards and upwards. I need to just to also note that I will be bringing back, or we will be bringing back in the coming weeks, a final outcome report, which will be basically the actual financials confirmed as solid. So thank you, Leader. The recommendations of the report, just to go through them again, nice and simple this time, that Cabinet note and challenges performance and advises of any further information or action required. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Southern. You've heard the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, in that case, we move forward then to the forward plan of key decisions, which you've got before you, and I just need to run through. Just bear with me whilst I get to the correct page. Okay. First of all, you'll note that there is no scheduled cabinet meeting for May, for obvious reasons, but in June, the following reports will go in public. First of all, public health contracts from the Cabinet Member for Health, Care and Wellbeing. Also in public, the final financial outturn 2020-21 from the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources. And the final one in June is executive responses for the all-party working groups from myself. Moving forward to July, in public, we've got community support, including domiciliary care and community short breaks for children with disabilities from the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People. Also in July, in public, child exploitation and missing children and young people service, Cabinet Member for Children and Young People. Again in July, in public, future delivery of residential replacement care services in Staffordshire for learning disabilities, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Health, Care and Wellbeing. Also July, in public, the framework agreement for the provision of asbestos removal encapsulation services, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Commercial Matters. Moving to August, we've got the Treasury Management Outturn Report 2021 from the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources. And then in private August, the proposed 1 FE expansion at Oldfields Hall Middle School, Uttoxeter, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Education and Sound. And then finally in September, recommissioning of care home services from the Cabinet Member for Health, Care and Wellbeing. That is the forward plan of key decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the conclusion of the public part of the meeting. So in public, what I would like to say is this is the final Cabinet meeting of this term of the Council, this 4-year term. These are the responsibility you hold as Cabinet colleagues, the leadership and accountability you have for your area of responsibility is not something any of you undertake lightly, and I know how seriously you take it, and indeed your predecessors and my predecessor, the effort and hard work that goes into looking after a council of this scale is something that isn't a responsibility that's undertaken lightly. And I just want to take this point to thank you all for your contributions as Cabinet members. I'd like to thank Charlotte Atkins for her constructive opposition as leader of the Labour group. I'd like to also thank officers who, without whom we couldn't run this authority, and all the tremendous work that they've done over the previous 4 years. I look forward to the next 4 years. Being a councillor is a huge privilege and honour, and of course that's always dependent on the electorate. So we'll find out what the electorate say on May the 6th, and certainly counts on May the 8th. Good luck to everybody. Thank you once again for your support, and I will now move to the next item of the agenda, which is the exclusion of the public. That the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business which involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the paragraphs Part 1 of Schedule 12A as amended of the Local Government Act 1972